Everybody, we got a great crowd today. Welcome to the Del Norte Solid Waste Management meeting and this wonderful day, Tuesday, September 17th. We're going to call the meeting to order. Can you please take roll?
Commissioner Howard,
Present.
Commissioner Greeno,
Here.
Commissioner Insquire,
I am here.
Commissioner Tompkins,
I am here.
Chair Cowan.
Here. Can you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready, salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're going to start the meeting with public comments. Any member of the public may address the Solid Waste Management Authority on any matter on or off the agenda. After receiving recognition, giving your name, you'll be limited to 3 minutes. Do we have any public comment at this time?
Eileen Cooper. Well, last meeting, you had a discussion about reducing green waste and an advocate that is introducing a whole program of making sure that people donate their food waste, stores, restaurants, to the Daily Bread Ministries, facilities that make sure people use them and eat them and that it doesn't go to waste. Well, you won't believe what just happened to me. I was in Walmart and she was hungry, and I stepped up to the counter and I saw there were chickens that were reduced in price, and so I said, well, what about these ones over here, the smaller ones? And they said, oh, the time is done on those and these. We can't sell them. And so they grabbed the chickens and they put it behind the counter. And I said, well, what are you going to do with them? And I said, I'll take them. I'll take them to the... She said, we're going to throw them out in this big bag in the back with food waste that probably isn't composted, but and because we don't have a program for that, right? So I said, no, let me have them. And she said, no, we can't. It's a liability. It's a liability. And I said, well, she said, it's California law. And I said, no, it's not California law. There's the Good Samaritan rule. We all got briefed on that last time, that you're not liable. You give food in. I mean, 1 second ago, it was on the shelf, and the next second, it was in the garbage. And I couldn't retrieve it to take it to Daily Bread Ministries, and I talked to the manager, and I said, we have to change this. I said, California says you're not responsible. She said, well, that's not Walmart corporate rule, and we've been sued. So they set up their rules perhaps for all different kinds of states that might not have the Good Samaritan rule. We have to really work on changing and working at corporate levels to change this situation, because they are throwing out tons of food. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the open session items, with number 1 being the consent agenda. We have 3 items. Approved minutes from the regular session from Tuesday the 27th of August, approved minutes from our special session from the 10th of September, and a discussion and possible approval of writing off $834.87 of bad debt from the authority's financial records for fiscal year 2018-2019.
Motion to approve.
Do you guys want to share?
Second.
Okay, I got a first and a second. Do you have any public comment on consent agenda items only? Okay, seeing none. Sure.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Greeno,
Yes.
Commissioner Inscore,
Yes.
Chair Cowan.
Yes. Okay, moving on to item number 2, the treasurer's report. Turn it over to you, Ted.
Thank you. We'll go through the director's report first and highlighting things that are otherwise not covered in the agenda. For our newest public member, Commissioner Tompkins, a previous commissioner asked that we start each meeting with the following paragraph. The Del Norte Solid Waste Management Authority continues to operate the Klamath, Gaskia, and Del Norte County transfer stations and to provide required monitoring, accounting, and reports to overseeing agencies. Authority staff provide these services without any financial support from the City of Crescent City or the County of Del Norte and without receiving a penny of taxes. Rates charged at authority-managed facilities continue to be lower than other similar facilities in Humboldt and Curry counties. So just to let you know the context, Commissioner Greeno asked, I'm sorry, not Greeno, City Council person, Gastineau, I'm sorry, thank you. Mr. Gastineau had previously requested that we include that. So it's always on the director's report, and it sets the context for the services that the agency provides. Going through the agenda today, the main thing that we're not covering elsewise is that the Del Norte Solid Waste Task Force has met for the first time in several years, and we'll be going through the electronic annual report as part of the preparation of commenting on the 5-year review. And Craig Strong, who is in the audience, was elected as chair, and Joel Wallen, who's also in the audience, was elected as vice chair, and Jeremy Herber, who's also in the audience, was elected as secretary. So thanks for that, and we'll continue meeting to try to address those things. And then the rest of it is covered in the agenda, but I will highlight that we do have the upcoming Household Hazardous Waste event coming up on Saturday, September 28th from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. at the Del Norte County Transfer Station. And if you have further questions about that, you can always call our offices, 465-1100. And then this weekend, we have the coastal cleanup. So with that, I'd be happy to proceed to the other reports.
Any questions for the director? Okay.
Okay.
Go on.
Financial reports, which are produced after the fact, we're still a little bit behind in terms of our accounting staff, largely because as we updated the software, that added a lot of delays, and we're still catching up from that. And also the summer tends to be busier, so there's a lot more accounting to be done. So in terms of our cash flow, we've got $1.176 million in the bank, plus $198,000 for the last month's rent. That's the cash report. You'll notice our AR aging report, we've now omitted the names of the accounts that are past due because that's really not relevant. The most relevant information for the board's management is looking at making sure that the overdue accounts are being placed on hold and being turned over to collections. Moving on to our regular monthly cash reports, you can see that under item 2.5, our authority service fees are coming in ahead of budget, as we generally expect during the summer, as well as our franchise fees are also coming in ahead of budget. So currently, in terms of where we're at in the fiscal year, we're about $65,581 ahead of budget in terms of revenue. So our budget is looking fine. Regarding claims approved by director, once again, the largest payment is to Hambros WSG for their good services they provide at the Del Norte County Transfer Station. We also had an expense to Lawrence and Associates for some of their help with water quality control monitoring. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Gentlemen, any questions? No? Okay. So you have nothing on the landfill today for us?
Nothing on the landfill today.
So the next is the collection franchise discussion regarding Recology Del Norte hiring of a zero waste coordinator to expand and improve outreach among other duties.
Jeremy Herbert asked that this item be put on, so I assume he's got someone to introduce for us.
Afternoon, Jeremy
Good
Herbert,
afternoon.
General Manager for Recology. This is kind of an exciting time for us. You know, we've always done our outreach program here in Del Norte. However, Lori Poole used to do that for us, who did a wonderful job, but she could only dedicate about 20% of her position to do that. So we have revamped, looked at our commitment to the community, and have decided to, at no additional expenses to anybody other than myself, was to hire a full-time Waste Zero specialist, full-time. So this position here basically is going to be working with the schools more often. We are going to be working really hard with helping this community and the authority with education, with recycling. We hope to have this person posted out here by the recycling containers at the solid waste transfer station, where we have a tent set up, and as people bring items in there, we can have one-on-one discussions of what's recyclable, what's not. So we want to really be a part of the solution in helping to clean up recycling here. Along with this, we're hoping to do more presentations to the community for education, along with not only just the third grade classes, but we're also going to be doing some additional functions with guardian clubs and some other features of this program. So we're excited to be able to really put 100% full effort into reaching out to businesses and helping them reduce their trash and increase their recycling. And I think this is something that we've always touched on, but we've never been in with 2 feet. And this is an opportunity for us to do that. So as of September 1st, we have hired, she can stand up here real quick. This is Chandra Ordway. She's been with us for 4 years. She's done a lot of our administrative work and has learned a lot about what Recology does. And she's been in training for a while. And so we finally have been able to support the ability to go ahead and hire her. So she's in that position today. We are trying to backfill her position as we speak. And once we get that, she will be hitting the ground running. She'll be available to the community in any way. The authority board or any other community activities that are going on that would like to have our presence, to do a presentation or just anywhere we can do to support this community. We ask that you reach out to Recology, and we'll be glad to have her attend with PowerPoint. She can custom make anything for whatever deliverables need to be presented. So it's an exciting time, and I figured, Laura, you'd be real happy about that. But we do want to get back in the schools. We do want to get back in there with the education with the students. We think that's a huge part of our community effort to make sure that those students are not only just teaching their parents, but also we're setting an example for the future to come.
Right.
So,
Any questions for Jeremy? Thank you. That's close to my heart.
I know.
When I
It's
left
close
the
to mine
school
too,
district,
and-
it kind of, that's the first thing you said to me is your program went away. So
Yeah.
I know it's there in bits and pieces. Any help you need, talk about what Lori and I did, how I can help you get it back up and running again, and what worked and what didn't. I'll tell you, the kids were amazing, and they were the ones who carried that program once we got them going. And the goal was for the kids to teach their parents.
yeah.
Come on up.
Come on.
I went to Redwood School last year and did a presentation for, I think it was K through 5.
They're
And
the easy ones.
they are the easy ones. They're the ones that we try to get. About a week later, my grandkids go to that school. I was over picking up the kids, and this little girl came and she tugged on my shirt. She said, "I saw my dad litter." She said, "And I told him that I talked to you, and you said it wasn't okay." I was like,
Yep.
okay. She's all, and he told me that he wouldn't do it anymore. So
That is great.
it was
Yeah.
well worth, everything, hearing her say that she listened to what I said, she heard, she understood, and more importantly, she was sharing that with her family.
Right.
So
Well, I am so happy to hear about this. So great. Whatever you need from me, I am here for you.
We will most likely be reaching out to you
Great.
to make sure that we continue what was started.
Great.
Okay?
Thanks, Jeremy, so much.
You bet. Thank you, guys.
Item 4.2, discussion and possible action regarding process for negotiating and discussing a possible extension of the franchise agreement for solid waste and recyclable collection.
So this is the item that we started discussing last month, and it's really a question of how the board wants us to structure the negotiations with Recology for their requested extension. I summarized essentially the details that Jeremy and I were able to outline. The intent is to try to make this fairly simple, to not add a lot of complications so that there isn't, but that is the intent, and we can take this any direction that the board would like to take this. But the issues that we're aware of that are on the table are all described under rates, facilities, materials, marketing, outreach, and legal issues. I'd be happy to summarize those if you would like. Okay, so essentially Recology would like us to set limits on the weight of compactor units, as sometimes the weight of the compacted material exceeds the capacity of their trucks to lift those compacting units. Recology would also like to add language describing when and how future rate reviews might be triggered, with Recology having a burden of proof that a rate change would be warranted. And Recology would also like to increase their CPI percentage from 85% currently to 100% of CPI for future CPI-based rate adjustments. These are the rate adjustments that go into effect every July 1st. Under facilities, Recology would like this extension to specify that the collections franchise includes servicing of the trash and recycling containers at a future northern transfer station in a similar fashion to the way that Recology currently services the small volume transfer stations in Gasky and Klamath. When opened, the community recycling bins at the Smith River Post Office would be moved to the northern transfer station. If granted a 10-year extension, Recology Del Norte would replace all 60 pairs of the street side brown and blue trash and recycling receptacles and could consider up to an additional 6 or 7 locations. Recology has stated that the extension will enable them to amortize this expense without any additional changes to the existing rates apart from the CPI adjustment. Recology has stated that a shorter extension of 7 years would reduce the level of this expenditure, possibly resulting in a reduced number of replaced containers. Regarding materials marketing, authority staff are seeking assurance from Recology that no materials placed in Recology Del Norte trash or recycling or brush containers are managed so those materials contribute in any way to the volume of plastics in the oceans. If Recology cannot provide such demonstration, then staff would consider modifying the varieties of plastics as accepted in Recology Del Norte's recycling programs. Recology does have professional staff working on marketing, and they have visited the other places where their materials are marketed, so we're just looking at having that be part of our ongoing communications so that people living in Del Norte County have confidence that when they place something in the recycling bin that it is getting processed for recycling. Regarding outreach, both Recology and authority staff are committed to taking steps as needed to reduce contamination in our recycling stream. Recology's hiring of the Zero Waste Coordinator is a demonstration of that commitment. Recology is also willing to coordinate legislative advocacy with their lobbyists when the authority and Recology have shared priorities. And finally, in addition, Recology has said that there are some minor language changes in the agreement they would like, and authority staff are aware of many additional organics collections requirements under a new law, SB 1383, and other state laws that would come into effect during the term that's being considered for this extension. So the extension should also address those anticipated changes, just as the northern transfer station is being anticipated. And finally, legal counsel will consult with staff and review the details of any change order and rate ordinance associated with these changes. Staff could proceed with these negotiations and continue to bring back status reports to the board. You can establish ad hoc committees to address any targeted issues that you care to address with commissioners directly. But we are seeking directions about how you would like these negotiations to proceed.
Blake, you want to talk about ad hocs? I know that was something of concern to you. How do you want to proceed?
And I think we have I appreciate Jeremy and Ted, you guys laying it out. I think that you have a really strong a framework here. The value of the ad hoc is to make sure that the commission itself is part of this whole thing, since we're going to establish this policy. But if staff can lay this thing out and come to an agreement and give it to us, then I'm certainly not, I don't have any desire to have extra meetings unless there's value in being able to talk through some of these things so that when it comes back to this dais, you have two people who fully understand everything that is implied in these things beyond just a paragraph. Because with each of these paragraphs, there's significant substance behind what that is going to mean for the next 10 years. So I don't have any objections to this being staff-driven. I just think that it provides a clear level of communication. And having done this multiple times now at the ad hoc level, I would be willing to do that, but I don't want to force the issue, but certainly think that there's some value there. But I think that, I mean, this would be, if I was going in to participate as an ad hoc member, this is already so far ahead of any conversation we've ever had when it comes to these kinds of things. There's already a really strong framework here, and I applaud staff and Recology for that.
Gentlemen, any other comments regarding this layout, how we're going forward? Are you guys good with this? Do we want to, as we proceed, maybe bring it in an ad hoc in areas that we have concerns with?
Yeah, and I think that's the best approach, Chair. I'd obviously reserve some comments until after public comment period on this item, but bring it back for some potential discussion with an emphasis on what Commissioner Enscore stated and also you just stated.
Public comment on this item.
It's me again. Basically, what I want to touch on is the replacement of the street side cans. There seems to be some confusion here. Basically, as the contract reads today, that the containers that are in place, we will continue to replace those until further instructed.
And I
So-
kind of wrote a note down when we were talking. I said, you know, if we're in this period that in the original agreement,
Yeah.
if half of them need to be replaced,
We'll do it.
you'll start to do that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's what I
So we'll
wanted.
do that. That's not a problem. So basically, we're going to ask for extension whether we replace them or not. Basically, like I said, we were asked to look into this, which Kara did a great job, and so did Mr. Ward on doing the research that was involved in this. And really, the reason why this subject even came up was for the fact that we've got containers that last 7 to 8 years that were chosen from the city from the beginning of the contract. They're not holding up in our salt weather condition. We're aware of that. And since, we were going to be going down the road of an extension with or without these cans, the opportunity arose that says, do we replace them now and get a 25 to 30-year life can? Or do we just continue with the way the contract reads today? That's not up to me. But basically, one way or the other, we're still going to ask for extension whether we replace these cans or not. The difference is whether or not, if we do an extension, the only thing is that my only limitation is that we ask for a 10-year if we do the cans, for the fact of that it's a big investment. There is no rate increase from this. This comes directly from us as a gift to the community to purchase this. There's no extra cost to any ratepayers for this action, other than we just need time to recoup that fundage. If we want to move with if you guys are more comfortable with the 7 or whatever, or even another 10-year extension, and you just want us to continue replacing the current cans in place, we're acceptable to that too. Really, the reason why we discussed these other cans was for the fact that it was brought up that now would be a great time to address it. So I'm on board with that. I'm also on board with keeping the way the contract is written, replacing the ones we have now, and I can start ordering those up now if you'd like. But instead of making an investment and then everybody wanting to come back saying, hey, this still ain't working, let's make a change now, it's better to start now than later. That's really all this is about. I just don't want to get this, there was seemed to be some discretion last meeting that says, hey, the reason why we're asking for an extension is because this can replacement has nothing to do with it. This is just an added bonus feature to the contract extension. You either take it or you just continue with what we have.
The current contract sunsets when?
June of 23.
June of 2023?
Yes, sir.
And that extension would extend it to June of 2033?
Yes, sir.
And how many cans?
There's currently 60 sets, which is 120 individual cans right now. However, one of the things that we've discussed with Mr. Ward is that during this extension period, it'd be a wonderful time if you find there's some additional locations that do not have containers, we're willing to make an adjustment up to add a few more into the contract, which means a little bit more of a purchase for us, along with more to service on our routes and maintain. We're willing to do that, again, at no additional cost. It's a benefit to the community to be able to make these changes. So, we're having a lot of, with these cans, as a reminder, we've had a lot of problems with Coastal Commission. These cans need to be bolted down. They're hollow at the bottom. You can't put a brick in the bottom of them. They're hollow. They just have a rubber container inside. You can't just add weight to them. They need to be bolted down. In order to get those bolted down, we've been trying for 2 years to get these things bolted down. Coastal Commission wants a very long study and all these things in order to pour a 12 by 12 pad to mount these to. So by going to the heavier weight concrete, it really eliminates the issue of them tipping over in these high weather storms. It eliminates the issues of a lot of other problems. There's less maintenance for me. I have one door to replace, not 6 or 8. There's a bunch of reasons of why this is a good thing, but if it's something that's going to be difficult, we can stick with what's in the current program and move forward. That's really what I want to do. I want to present both options to you and let the board choose.
How many of these cans have you had to replace to date?
Probably in the last, since our contract I just know what I've replaced in the last 5 years. I've ordered about 25 sets.
Oh, see, I didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah.
I've already ordered 25 sets, and they are about $1,100 per container. So a set is $2,200.
Okay, and you would continue to do that without I see what you're saying.
So
I'm willing to continue.
That was 50 cans at 1,100 apiece, is basically what
No,
you're saying.
that would be
Sets.
120 cans at $1,100 a piece.
Oh, okay.
They're $1,100 for one because of all the laser inscription and all that.
That you've had to replace.
Yes, and the panels. I have to keep 30, 40 panels. They break the locks, so I have to replace the locks. All 4 sides are replaceable because they kick them in, they paint them, they whatever. These are powder coated, so once that powder coating gets chipped, they're instant rust buckets. And so we're just trying to solve a problem here. Instead of being wasteful, continually buying new metal cans that have a hazard to our members of the community and tourists. If we go the other way, the metal's thicker and it's only one panel. The rest is all concrete. We don't have the wind issues. We don't have, when the wind blows them over, the trash becomes a vacuum in there and it sucks all that out and the paper goes everywhere. So we're just trying to solve multiple problems of contamination and other issues that these new cans would solve. However, again, it's not up to me to replace these. It was a suggestion from the city and a joint effort from the director of the authority. So I'm just gonna do what I'm asked to do. I mean, I'm glad to continue on, but again, if we did a 10-year, I can replace all of these, including even an extra 6, 7 sets, at no cost to anybody. I just need time to get them paid for. That's it.
Yeah, I was going to say, so you're replacing them as needed? Is that the way it's working?
No, sir. If we can get an extension signed, I'd be willing to go out and make that purchase at the first of the year. And I'd buy them all. I'd replace them all at one shot.
Gentlemen, any other questions?
I don't want to have a mix match in the community. I think it's very effective that we can start purchasing them. Of course, there's going to be lead time. We have to do molding and there's some stuff to it. But we'd like to have them out before tourist season next summer. It's uniformed, and they've already been pre-approved through the city and the planning commission as well. So everybody's agreed on what they like. It's just a matter of having the way to pay for it, and it's about $250,000. With trucking and everything to get those here, and that's at a cost not to the community but to Recology. I want to make that very clear.
Thank you, Jeremy. Any other public comment on the franchise?
Craig Strong. And I'm not sure if this is the right context for it, but we just heard from Director Ward about new regulation, particularly regarding compost, I believe, and some other green waste that's going to come into effect. And then we heard from Eileen earlier about food waste or alternative food use. And so my concern that I'm putting forward to the board is that is this extension of the contract an opportunity to guide or include language to deal with green waste, and the food waste issue is a big and complicated issue, but this may be the beginning of a forum to address that as well. That's my comment.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
All right. These are really $2,000 per can, but in a place with 2 of them, so that's $4,000 at 60 cans, or $2,000 for 120.
$2,200 per set.
And
66 cents.
these are not the only 2 choices.
But Eileen, we're not talking about the cans itself. This item is about the franchise agreement.
Yes.
That's just something that they've looked into and the city's approved and the planning commission's approved.
Yes. But I just think that with all the important things we have to do, this $200,000, when we could put this money to such better use. They have so many responsibilities that they need to do for us. This is a stupid choice that's taking away from funding for important things. And I resent it. Period.
Thank you. Okay. Any other public comment on item 4.2? So I'm going to bring it back to the board. Are you guys comfortable going forward with staff taking it the way they're taking it? And then if we find something that we're uncomfortable with or we want to delve further into, then at that time talk about ad hoc committees?
I think my recommendation would be that an ad hoc works through the entire process so that there's an understanding of what is going on with staff, as opposed to waiting for us to come up with something we don't like. I don't even know what that would be, but some of those things, it just seems to me that there's a greater possibility of being able to communicate amongst ourselves if somebody's part of this process, as opposed to just waiting to see something that we don't like. But if that's the board's choice, I guess that's fine too.
Commissioner Howard, you want to weigh in?
Yeah, I'll definitely take that opportunity. Well, as we discussed last time, I think we had some consensus that this issue of cans shouldn't be the basis for this contract negotiation. Recology's acknowledged that, and yeah, that could be part of a separate discussion, because if they're going to have issues with amortizing this over 14 plus years at this point in time, with maybe $1,000 a month payback to themselves to make this a little bit more digestible, you get larger problems than just what we're going to do under an extension in a contract to help increase your rates. Getting back to this discussion that is before us, which is extension of the contract, we're looking at potentially 14 years if we go into discussions now and try to have a product back to this commission for consideration by our meeting in December is my justification. I like what Commissioner Enscore is suggesting. An ad hoc would follow along in the process with staff and with Recology to come up with something that hopefully would be more digestible when it hit the commission's desk. Time to feed the baby, maybe. So I like what Director Ward has stated at this point. We'd basically be looking at the revisions as at least asked for by Recology, which is the 85 to 100% and the CPI rates, the adjustment in weights and capacity of the units, being able to lift with the current equipment. I see some consistency. I've seen some precedent that this commission has taken in the past that we should absolutely give this consideration at this time. I see no point in waiting, and if Blake's motion is a first, I'd second it.
Okay. So, Mayor Inscore has talked about an ad hoc committee, and we've got a second.
I do believe that there needs to be an ad hoc committee on this. We are the elected officials on this board, and we're going to be the ones held responsible if this goes awry. So I do believe that there needs to be an ad hoc.
I don't know that we need to vote on this, do we, Director? It's just more direction for you.
Appointing the ad hocs is the discretion of the chair.
Okay. Commissioner Tompkins, are you okay with an ad hoc? Okay. So my question to you is, remind me, do we have to have a city and a county, or can it be a city and it doesn't matter?
Not for the ad hoc committee, but when the board takes a vote, there always has to be a city vote, a county vote,
Gotcha.
and a
Okay.
majority of 3.
So I hear that, can we take this up right now, Martha, to do the ad hoc, or do we have to wait till next meeting and agendize?
It's
I think you can,
as a
you can
recommendation.
appoint the ad hoc committee today.
So are you volunteering?
Yeah.
Okay, I've got one, and you got someone else?
I
Any
think
other
we need to get
volunteers? Our new guy?
our newest public
Get his
members' feet wet immediately.
Yeah, you up for it? Commissioner
I'll go.
Tompkins? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, there you go.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen, for stepping up, appreciate that.
Ad hoc with me is just like
I've done it.
the curse
I'm
of
good.
death. Jason's the only one that had it, so.
Okay, we're gonna
Actually,
move
people were
on
moved on because
to,
of being-
are you good with everything? You got what you need, Director? So we're gonna move on to item number 5.1, the recognition and presentations by Janet for the Tansy Awards. Come on up.
Been
The fun stuff.
a long time, huh? Yeah, the fun stuff. Very pleased with the spectrum of contributors, from very young children to very elderly seniors, getting out there and working to pull Tansy. I got a lot of feedback that they had a good time. Mostly I got teams, people joining up with family or friends or teams to get out there and work on this. And we brought in almost 10,000 pounds of tansy during the game's performing
job.
days. So that was encouraging, very encouraging. I'd like to recognize a lot of the people I see in the audience and award them their prizes. Do you want to start at the top or start, well, who cares where we start? Okay, here we go.
Wherever you would like.
Is Denny Hubbard here? Hubbard?
Yeah, I can't hear that well, I doesn't. Okay.
Denny Haddad? Haddad. I spoke to him on the phone, but maybe the weather kept him out. He was very excited. Jeanette Pulley? Thank you. This is a gift from Hambros. Are the V-dubs here? Okay. Doug Wakefield. Doug Wakefield here? Come on up. Okay. Whoa. So it's a gift from Hemmingson Contracting. I don't know the joke, but okay. Let's see. How about the Moby Blues? All righty. Amy and Thor. Okay. The Northwest Trail Riders. Oh, good. I'm very glad they're here because I didn't want to carry it back out to the car.
Nice. Oh, yay.
Okay. Let's see, is Kelly Worley here and her grandkids? No. The Simmons family? How about the Burger Boys? Oh, good, good, good. These two boys pulled in about over 700 pounds of tansy.
Good job,
Thank you very much.
guys.
Ticket to Ride, a family board game, and we also have movie tickets for 6.
Good job.
Oh, give you a photo.
Photo op.
Your mom.
There you go, Janet.
Thank you so much. Let's see, so the V-dubs were in here. Simmons aren't here, the Worleys aren't here. I have, this is what I wanted to win. I have some massages from Stephanie's Massage. Helen Duvernay could not make it, she told me. Leonard DeVries. Donna Thompson. Probably the oldest contributor we have to the Tansy Games. She's out pulling Tansy at 82.
Oh, wow.
So, look at that. Is Marion Kirkpatrick. Okay. Let's see, and then, so Helen's not there, the Simmons family's not there. Is there anyone, Amy and Thor were not here. Okay, I got a lot of people to give prizes out to still. The top prize goes to Craig Strong for over 1,500 pounds of tansy. Thank you so much. So our top prize was a cash prize of $500.
Yay. Good job, Craig.
There was a request that before we put all together the prize packets, when people were asking what the grand prize would be, and I said, well, what would you like? And the request was a 1-year free at Recology. So just to let you know, you were mentioned several times.
I think we should
as
consider
a
that for
great,
next year.
a great prize.
All right, there we go.
So I met a lot of nice people in the community, a lot of generous business donors, and just a lot of nice people. And anyone who's grown up here or has been here a long time, they say, oh, Tansy, have I got a Tansy story for you. So I thank you very much for seizing the opportunity to promote this invasive weed eradication program and taking a chance on this. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenna, for all your work. Okay, moving on to discussion and possible action. What? Oh, yeah. Come on up. I'm sorry, gentlemen.
Yeah, Craig, back again. And this, of course, would not have happened if Janet Gilbert had not spearheaded the Tansy Games, conceived of it, followed through, got the awards, and really put it together. So that's a pretty incredible job of a contribution by an individual for the invasive species program. And then, I'm going to share some info. Some things I learned. It was a learning experience doing this. One thing was, I had a strategy. I was going for bulk, and so I would ask landowners who had bad infestations if I could pull their tansy, and then I had a lot of equipment. I had a flatbed and trailers and things. So in that respect, I cheated, but the Tansy Games is open to however you do it. So the other thing I want to point out is that getting the seed heads off the tansy is critical, and I think everyone did good at that. It does take extra time, but it's worth it. The whole point is to get rid of this thing, not have the seeds spread further. So yes, if you're playing, bag your tansy. And then one final thing, the fields I hit were nothing compared to some horrible infestations across the river on the north side. which can only be dealt with heavy machinery. And as the organization goes on, it would be really nice if the agricultural community, the property owners who have bad problems, can be included in this somehow and can get some benefit by joining and getting rid of their tansy. Okay, so yeah, it was fun. Thanks everyone for playing.
Thanks, Craig. Good job.
I just wanted to do the same thing. Thank you for organizing this. It's kind of a thing that is near to my heart as a property owner. I have property just south of the Redwood National Park, so it doesn't matter how much I pull, I get reseeded every year from the Redwood National Park. So I just want to put that out there.
We'll bring them in next year.
Because that was one of the rules, was that you could not pull it on the park. So maybe there's discussions that could be had that way. And the other thing is, good. And the other thing is, tansy is not the only invasive species we have. The poison hemlock is in the last 5 years is, I don't know, 10 times, 20 times what it was 11 years ago. So maybe that could be looked into too. But thank you very much for organizing this. And also, when it comes, you go looking for prizes next year, I'll be glad to donate to you.
Great. Thanks, Doug.
One final note, in addition to one more appreciation for Janet Gilbert's efforts, I also wanted to point out that Craig Strong actually won twice. In that when we first set up the Tansy Games, they were set to go from May 22nd to June 22nd. And because there was a late bloom, we had to extend, and so we extended it to August 22nd. But as of June 22nd, Craig Strong was the winner, so we thought, well, he should get something for winning the first round. But thankfully, he won the second round, so there's one definitive first prize winner, and that's Craig Strong.
Right. Thank you, everybody who participated, and thank you again, Janet. Great job. Okay.
Moving on to discussion and possible action regarding policies for unloading large rented trucks at the Del Norte transfer station. Ted, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, this is a kind of a new issue that we've found, especially late this summer. It tends to be associated with rental trucks. There are folks who are clearing out properties or preparing properties for out-of-county contractors, and they'll come in with a rented truck, and unfortunately, sometimes they're not very well prepared to pay. And so what we found is that in the last month, we've had 3 or 4 instances where a customer arrives after 4 with a large rented truck, takes them until just before closing in order to unload the materials, and then when they find out how much it costs, then they wait for somebody to wire them the money so that they can pay. This delays the closure process both for our staff as well as Hambros. It having happened on several occasions, what we would like to propose is that self-haul customers at the Del Norte County Transfer Station who deliver materials in a rented truck and are estimated to have more than 1 cubic yard of trash or brush must arrive before 4 p.m., else they will be advised they will not be allowed to unload until the following day. I want to say that generally our rule is if you're in line by 5 o'clock, you get service. But if people call in advance and they ask when are you open till, we will usually ask them, we ask that you be here in time to have completed unloading by 5 o'clock because we try to close at 5. But our rule is if you're in line, then you get service. But we found that if we're trying to follow that rule with these large rented trucks, that's going to push us later and later into the evening, and that's not something that I really would recommend. So I'm seeking, but I do not turn away customers without consulting with the board and making sure we're all on the same page regarding policy. So I'm asking.
Okay. I'm going to open up to public comment first. You guys go with that? Any public comment on item 5.2? Gentlemen, how do you feel about this?
How many times has this happened?
Less than a dozen. More than 5.
Over what time period are you?
Last 2 or 3 months.
One specific user?
One repeated user, sure. Well, there's a group of folks that we have come to recognize. But it's kind of this general category of if they come in with a large rented truck and the folks seem to be new to the area, we anticipate issues. And we've seen them come.
So this is a trend then?
It's enough of we want to be clear in our communications is pretty much all it is. And we want to be clear to those folks that no, it's really not okay to arrive at the last part of the day and then wait for someone to wire you money.
What kind of time frame are we talking? So we're talking about this person sitting on the scale, waiting.
Sitting
for the money,
next to the scale, waiting for someone to
potentially
wire
with
them money.
5 other people behind them.
No, they're pulled aside, but they can delay our closure process by up to an hour.
So that costs us money?
It costs the authority money, it costs Hambros money.
So they're just asking that we make sure they're all in by 4, not turning them away, just coming in with a large truck, get in by 4 o'clock. That gives them plenty of time to process.
I guess I'm not seeing it. I'm having a hard time with this one.
Okay.
It seems to be a trend for a specific user, maybe 1 or 2 different companies potentially renting this truck. Why couldn't we have a focused effort instead of setting a trend? I mean, I don't see a trend here. This is very short. You can't even call
they're
it a
cash
trend.
customers, so they're not specific customers. You know, they pay by cash or credit card.
Yeah, it just seems strange to start a new policy after a short period of time.
Okay.
And if it's just 1 or 2 specific businesses.
All right.
But that's just my personal thought right now. Unless you tell me something different, I'd be more than happy to visit it down the road.
It's really nothing more than trying to set expectations.
Sure. And we can't communicate that? We have to actually have a policy in order to
we
communicate?
can't just turn away customers. I do not turn away customers unless I consult with the board generally. And
I guess my worry is by doing so that trash could wind up in some bush around the corner. But I guess that's my fear by turning away customers. But you tell me otherwise.
I really think that this circumstance really seems to be particular to out-of-county entities that are interested in cleaning out properties or preparing properties for sale. And they hire somebody who's in county, who doesn't have vehicles, who doesn't have any kind of license. They say, hey, I'll rent a rental truck, I'll fill it up, and then you can wire me the cash of whatever the disposal is. And they haven't worked out any of these details until the very end of the day, and we're all waiting for them to work it out. But we can't just send them on their way. We can't just close. They owe us hundreds of dollars. So we're all waiting for those hundreds of dollars to come in. And it's really this particular category of customer. This is not all customers by any means at all. This is folks with large rental trucks coming after 4. And that's the only category of customer that we're saying, if you're coming in a large rental truck, you need to arrive before 4 o'clock. That's all we're asking for.
I don't know.
Commissioner Bruno?
It doesn't seem like that much of a trend yet, in my opinion, to warrant an official policy. I would agree with Commissioner Howard.
Well, I guess it just seems to me that an outreach and an education process should precede trying to actually establish policy. That if there is an identifiable business or businesses that are using this service, that we reach out to them and make that request and simply say, we appreciate the fact that you're doing this work in our community, that you're cleaning up, that you're doing these things, but this is creating a backlog and a hardship at the authority, at the transfer station, and actually incurring more costs. Could you do this? And then see what response. If we come back 3 months from now and it's the exact same pattern and they're still doing this, then I would say, well, now we do have a trend and we have a pattern, and they've rejected our outreach, and so we have to establish a policy. That would be my preferred approach to this, If we can do it via education and outreach and not have to create more policies, that would simply be my recommendation. So that's just my thought.
I would be happy to have a direct conversation with these particular customers and very strongly encourage them to arrive before 4. And if that's the way the board would like me to treat, I will do so.
I agree with that.
Okay.
That's a great
Okay.
idea.
All right.
Direction?
Done.
Okay. Excellent. So we're going to discussion and possible action regarding proposals received to approve or to provide assessment, cleanup, vegetation management, and consulting services.
Unfortunately, neither of the proposals received regarding this RFP were willing to follow through on the proposals they submitted. And so we still have need for these services. So we've adjusted the dates and staff are recommending that we issue this request for proposals one more time. Of course, the downside is we may have the same result, but I'd like to think that at least one of the parties that bid before would be willing to adjust the rates and submit a proposal once again.
Okay, I got a first and a second. Any public comment on item 6.2? Seeing none? Carol?
Commissioner Tompkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner Greeno?
Yes.
Commissioner Inscore?
Yes.
Chair Cowan?
Yes. And moving on to item 7, Dominic.
No, 6.2?
Did I just, oh, I went right over that one, sorry. That was for 6.1.
Thank you. Sorry about that,
I'm
Dominic.
just thinking Commissioner Howard needs to get out of here.
Yeah, okay, so the staff recommend approval for signature
Yes.
and mailing.
I asked to, we wanted to talk about SB 1383. That is one of the things that's coming up for us, and one more state mandate.
And this is a really big one. I mean, that's, and unfortunately, it's fairly heavy-handed. It's not that rural communities like ours can't do anything about short-term climate pollutants. I just don't think that the best approach is that which urban areas are being required to do.
Right.
Specifically, with respect to food waste collection and food waste processing, I really think that warrants rethinking for rural areas. And
I
so-
can't agree more. As a good friend of mine in Smith River says, this state likes to treat everybody equally poorly.
Right.
And this is no different. So I didn't see anything
Good letter.
in this letter that I wouldn't recommend moving forward with.
Okay, so any public comment on the letter? I'll take a motion.
I'd move.
Okay,
Second.
and a second. Here, can we take a vote on 6.2?
Commissioner Tompkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner Greeno?
Yes.
Commissioner Inscore?
Yes.
Chair Cowan?
Yes. Now we'll move on to Dominic.
We have to adjourn and reconvene as
Can I bring him up first, or do you want me to do it?
I'm just,
We're going to adjourn as solid waste and reconvene as abandoned vehicle abatement.
I just wanted to hear you say that. Say it really fast.
I'm just going to let Commissioner Enscore rest.
We have our third quarter and fourth quarter AVA report prepared, and that's provided it with you guys. And so basically, we're looking pretty good financially, and TOWs have been pretty consistent from quarter to quarter and year to year. So currently no concerns with our AVA budget. And then, as I stated last time I was here, it's being supplemented by our Cal Recycle grant that we have. So we're sitting pretty good till early next year. Then that grant will be finished, and then we'll be flying solo again on our AVA funds. So hopefully we can get plenty towed before then.
Right.
Good deal.
I got to say, I think the authority and the efforts under Dom's leadership has definitely paved the way for a lot less vehicles on the streets as it was many years ago. So excellent job out there, and keep up the good work. I'm hoping we can continue to support a program like this.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Anything else, gentlemen? Anything to add?
As long as the state doesn't come in and decide that they need to give us some annual assessment fee and take half of our money, we'll be fine.
Yeah, well, we still have that fee.
Thank
Yeah.
you for all your
Yeah,
hard
thank you,
work,
Dominic.
Dominic. We really appreciate, and we're
stuff.
going to adjourn as the Abandoned Vehicle Abatement Authority and reconvene as the Solid Waste Authority. And with that, we're going to adjourn to our next regular meeting on Tuesday, October 15th at 4 p.m. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Howard?